Hello, everybody. Welcome to Europe's largest virtual networking lunch event today on our new event and networking platform, Wordly. So what can you expect from today? It's basically two things. First, you will learn how to become a master networker in the virtual world from the one and only Dan Ran. And second, you will have the opportunity to get to know people from all across Europe or even the world by networking with them here on our platform. So without further ado, and while people are still joining, I would like to welcome on stage Dan Ram. Dan is an igniter. I'm just inviting him here on stage. He's traveling the world and currently online via webcam to the homes from all over the globe as a professional speaker, trainer, and startup coach. And yes, true story, he has survived the lion attack. True story, he has shared the stage with President Barack Obama, Sir Richard Branson, Jessica Alba, and so many more. And yes, third true story, he's here to share some secret tips on how to network in a virtual world on this virtual lunch. So super excited to have you here on stage, Dan. The stage is all yours.
Thank you, my man. It's amazing to be here. The question is, can you hear me? If you can hear me in the comment section, please drop a emoji of any sort or hi, I can hear you. I just want to make sure that I'm broadcasting clearly from Coimbatore, India. So for those who don't know, right now I am in an elephant sanctuary at the very remote, very distant area, like literally it's an elephant sanctuary. I'm surrounded by coconut trees. I'm surrounded by peacocks, but hopefully we have a good connection. I also want to apologize for this hat that I'm wearing. I don't know if anyone else is feeling a little bit of COVID hair. I have hair, lots of it, and that's a problem. It's a little bit messy. By the way, I'm seeing all the messages coming through, so that is fantastic. I'm delighted that we're super clear and broadcasting. Virtually, guys, thank you so much for having me on the show, on this virtual lunch, the first ever virtual lunch, which is awesome. Congratulations on your platform, and hopefully this will be a great opportunity to show people what this platform can do. To everyone who's dropping messages, Joe, Michael, Satare, Marco, Jerry, Julian, Kateko, I see you all. It's amazing to have you. Thank you for joining. All right, let's get right into it. How to be a master networker at a virtual conference, virtual training, webinar, or anything in the virtual world. Full disclaimer, I love stages. Full disclaimer, I love being with people in the same space. Don't we all? And yet here we are in COVID-19 in a brand new world, and we have to learn how to navigate it well. So essentially, I want to break this down into three segments: what you do before, what you do during, and what you do after. Some of this is very much the same as what you do at a physical conference, but maybe how you deliver is going to be slightly different in the virtual world. So first of all, if you want to be a master networker, if you want to maximize the opportunities of webinars and online conferences and anything that is virtual, you have to ask yourself two questions before you even show up. First, what do I want to get? And second, what can I give? So before you even show up, you need to ask yourself these two questions. What do I want to get? What can I give? You need to have a clear purpose and a goal for showing up. So even today at this virtual lunch, why are you here? Is it just open curiosity, or are you trying to find a co-founder? Are you trying to share an idea that you're playing with? Are you looking for new revenue streams? Like, what is the reason that you're here? You got to know, what do you want to get? But probably more importantly, what can you give? And this is something that a lot of people forget, is that transactions are two ways. Opportunities are two ways. Relationships are two ways. So you can't just show up wanting to get. You also got to know what you can give. And so think about your skills, think about your talents, think about your interests and your hobbies, and see how you can weave that into something that has a value to the other person. All right. So What can you get? What can you give? These are the two questions you need to have an answer for. So that when you show up at a virtual conference, which is now what we're going to talk about the second part, which is what do you do during, you've got a clear objective and a goal. So even here on this platform, you can see that against everybody's name, if you click into the name, you can see their interests. And this is a good way to see who you can start a conversation with. So what you do during a conference is broken down into a few top tips. First, I would highly recommend that you have a strong opener. For example, I made a joke about, well, not a joke, it was a bad joke, let's admit it. But I addressed the fact that I was wearing a red hat. Now, I can't see you guys, but my guess is I'm a little bit distinct with my red hat. I don't know how many other people are wearing a wrinkled shirt over a t-shirt with a red hat. This is the signs of coronavirus because I would never show up on stage like this, right? So I address this. This is like just something that makes me stand out a little bit. Or maybe the fact that I have a red Starbucks cup. Or maybe the fact that I might be eating a little dessert because while in Europe, it is certainly lunchtime. Here, it's not lunchtime, but I didn't want to be left out. So here's my little virtual dessert as such. You want to find something that sets you apart, that makes you distinct, that is a clear, strong introduction, either visually in what is around you. So think about the lighting. So even now you can see that when I am here, the lighting is really good on my face. But if I go back, I get quite dark. So even think about things like lighting, think about framing. So what's to my left, what's to my right? Am I really up close? And if I'm doing this, this is going to be a pretty bad presentation. On the other hand, if I'm down here and going, hey guys, how you doing? So think about your frame, think about the lighting, think about your own energy. Because a lot of what I'm communicating right now is without seeing you. I can't see if you're smiling or you're hating this. I can't see if you're understanding or not understanding. So I'm just projecting. I am imagining you on the other side, you wonderful lunch goers, and I am bringing that energy through my eyes and through my face. So think about these small tips during. In addition to that, always connect on mutual interests. So I noticed right before this, because I asked where people were, that a lot of people are in Germany. So maybe talk about that aspect, like what's happening in Germany, what's the new news. So try to find areas of mutual interest. And then the most important thing, talk less, ask more questions. A lot of people think that connecting, networking, pitching is about you doing the talking. It's always better to ask questions because people love people who are interested in them. So if you show that you're interested in them, if you're trying to make a connection by asking questions, genuine curiosity, then they will like you. And so the third part and the last part in the during phase of networking is always end with some kind of action point if possible. It could be something as little as, hey, can I have your LinkedIn? Can I have your phone number? I'd love to stay in touch. Can we connect on Instagram? But it also could be, if it's a good conversation, something like, I will send you my business plan, or I'd like to drop you an email a little bit more about some of these thoughts about what we've been sharing, or, oh, I can make that connection for you that you were asking. So always have an action point, which then brings me to my final stage, which is post networking. This is the one that most people drop the ball. They bring the energy, they bring the hype, they bring all the power to the networking. And right after that, they go back to their emails, they go back to their notifications, they go back to whatever they were thinking about before, and they totally forget the follow-up. The most important part after all of this is follow-up. Send an email and saying, it was so nice to connect with you at the hashtag virtual lunch. I hope to see you next week at the next one. Or it could be something like, hey, you mentioned that you were really interested in changing up your back garden. With all this extra time, you now have a new interest in gardening. Well, my grandpa or my dad or my uncle is a gardener. Can I connect the two of you together? Maybe you can share some tips. So find some excuse to follow up. Most of my connections, all the way up to President Obama, is simply because I follow up. Every single one of you that messages me, you will get a response from me. Every single one of you. And that's not just because it's this particular virtual launch. This is just my personality, is that I really, really believe in the importance of follow-up. So whether it's a massive conference with 5,000 people, whether it's a virtual webinar with 300 people, the numbers don't matter. I always follow up. If you write to me, I will answer you with whatever question, whether it's about public speaking, whether it's about coaching, I will respond to you. Likewise, if I get some of your contact details, you best believe that I am going to write to you and introduce myself and go, hey, let's talk more. Tell me more about you. So these are my 3 quick top tips. I'm going to summarize them, but while I'm summarizing them, I would love if you can drop some questions in, right? So I'm currently not on our live stream platform. I'm actually looking at a 10-second delay on the Veertly platform. If you can show me or ask me some questions, I can answer some of them on this topic of networking. But to summarize really quickly, before you show up to the virtual conference, think about what can you get, what can you give. When you show up to the virtual conference, think about a strong introduction, good visuals around you, questions that you can ask, and finding common ground, and don't leave without an action point. And then finally, when you leave the virtual conference, make sure that you actually follow up. And networking is really that simple. All right, let's see some of the messages that are coming in. Antonio says, good point, Dan Ram. Antonius, where are you? That's a very Greek sounding name, especially your last name. Satare, I'm probably pronouncing your name wrong, says, says she likes it, possibly referring to my wrinkled t-shirt and hat situation that's going on. All right, so let's see. Your passionate people person is evident already.
I have a good question for you. So usually I know that you're traveling the world. So you told me you don't spend more than 3 days in one single place. So how do you survive these days if you have to spend, like, I think now for multiple weeks already in one place? How is this for you?
Yeah. So here in India, we're on major lockdown. And I mean major. Stores are closed, roads are closed. You're not allowed outside at all. But I have fallen in love with something new that I have not had for the last 2.5 years as a professional speaker. It's one word: routine. I have never had routine for the last 2.5 years. Every hotel changed every 3 days. Airplanes change every 3 days. Time zones change every 3 days. Weather change every 3 days. Resources change every 3 days. Friends and networks change. And now I finally have routine. I wake up in the same bed for the last 5 weeks. I have a nice morning workout and an evening workout. I have breakfast, lunch, and dinner with my parents, plus a coffee break with them, which is such a treat to be around them. I have time to play the piano every single day. I have time to read every single day. So I finally have routine, and I've fallen in love with routine. So that's one thing that's kept me sane during this time, is having a routine. But also what's helped me, I guess, not miss the globetrotting is enjoying the gift of routine. Good question, Alex. And Antonio's says, I feel you, Dan Ram. Same changes under this lockdown. Yes. And Satari says, I have a red head and wrinkled shirt. All right. Joe Pascal has a good question. What are your openers now for the virtual? Is it harder, easier to get a hold of people these days? Might that stay or change in the future? So let me answer that question. Openers, I think the best kind of openers these days are personal, not professional. So usually when I come on stage, I have a 60-second reel that shows my traveling around the world on multiple stages. I have a soundtrack that I compose myself. I have lights and I have a big stage. Now we're broadcasting out of my bedroom. And so I sort of intentionally wore this red hat and this wrinkled shirt in order to go, yes, this is a virtual conference, but we are friends connecting over lunch, right? We show up as we are to lunch. You don't wear a 3-piece suit for a lunch date. And so I think the personal connection is better. Making a reference to coronavirus about COVID hair is like so I'd say the best openers these days are personal. I don't get it when people show up in a fancy suit and in like some kind of bland background when everybody knows that we're all broadcasting out of our homes. So I feel like personal is better. As far as like connecting and keeping a hold of people's attention, I think it's harder. Physical conferences, there's so much more focus that is possible because we're often in a different space and everything in that space is geared around the stage and the person on the stage. Whereas here, Your kids are yelling at you. Your pet is probably sitting on you right now. Maybe you've spilled something on yourself at this point. Like, there's so many possible distractions in the home, not to mention emails and notifications and other tabs that you have open at the exact same time. So I would say online's harder, but I think engagement is actually higher. I have found that there are more people that will connect and follow up with me digitally in a digital setting than digitally from a physical setting, if that makes sense. So if I'm at a physical conference, I would say, hey guys, I can help you with your public speaking. I have a course called Confidence on Camera. So not everyone who is good on stage can do camera, but more importantly, not everyone who's great at their job knows how to communicate their value through a camera. And so I have a course, like 21, not a course, a small coaching session, 21 tips on how to have confidence on camera. And so any of these resources, if I tell people I've got these resources, connect with me if you're interested, digitally, they click a lot faster. Physically, they go, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Let me talk to Dan after the conference. And they'll talk to me and they'll go, okay, let's go to a party. And then we go to a party and they're like, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep. And they forget about it. So that's what I would say. Let's see, what other questions do we have? I'm sorry I've taken over your show, Alex. I don't know how much time I was given, but these questions are great.
Totally, go for it.
So
we have still a couple of more minutes before then jumping into the networking part.
Okay, so can we take another question or two? So how do you finish a conversation / how do you exit a conversation? These are things. So yeah, physically, it is so much easier, I think, in some ways to have like cues, angling your body out, doing these movements like, okay, I'm tired, excuse me, from the conversation. I think virtually everything, you got to really just master this rectangle box that we're in, because there's actually quite a bit that you can do with your hands. For example, when you enter a conversation, usually in physical life, you have your hand out, right? There's a handshake. There's no handshake here. And you'll see that a lot of the pros on camera, what they do is this, hey, everybody, how you doing? But you wouldn't do that in a physical conference, right? So you just have to experiment with this rectangle and see, how do you show boredom on a camera, right? So usually like looking away or looking down, or most clearly like typing or going on different tabs will show the other person, all right, their monologue is going on forever, so like wrap it up. I think a lot of, like, even right now, we have a private chat. And so if you're working with a colleague and you're like, hey, you're droning on, or we should wrap this up, or something of that sort, engage with the private chats that are possible. Who knows, maybe you guys have a private chat right now and you're talking about me behind my back or in front of my face, as it is. So I would say use some of these tools that are available. WhatsApp people, text people as well. Joe says, thanks for the answer, Dan. Personally, I've been finding it easier to connect online now. Amazing. Fantastic. People are really up for 15-minute virtual coffees, really just to chat, which is lovely. It's so true. People have more time to connect on a personal level. It's not a great time to be fundraising, although there are ways to do that. It's not a great time to be building business, although there are ways to do that. And I'm coaching different accelerators on that right now. But it is a great time to be connecting personally. That investor you really wanted to get to know, now's a great time to connect with them. That mentor that you've always been wanting to connect with, now's a great time to get through to them. So yeah, guys, I think these are some great questions. What I will do is I will put in here my email address in the chat bar, and I am pretty fast with email, but I'm faster on social media. So at I am Dan Ram, if you connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter, I will respond usually within minutes. And I would be so open to connecting with you guys. If I can support you in your confidence on camera, if I can support you in just public speaking, if I can support you in how to do business development or fundraising during this crazy time, I am here for you. Not just for the 30 minutes that I've been blabbing, but the reason I decided to come here is because I genuinely want to connect with people. I genuinely want to help. I'm in the same boat as well. Clearly, my main job has ended as far as traveling the world speaking, but you best believe I am busy as ever trying to create new revenue streams, experimenting with new models, and there's so many exciting things that are happening right now. So be a part of the future, create the future and the present you want to be in, I'm super, super grateful for this opportunity. Alex and team, thank you so much for bringing me on.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Dan. As always, we love your energy and your power that you just bring on stage. So that's super amazing. Glad to have you on the show here today. So what's next? So everyone, get your drink. It's not beer, it's tea, although it looks like beer. Get your drink, get your lunch or whatever you want to have for lunch. And I think, or you can see, many of you have already figured out how to update your profiles, how to make sure that people can find you, can connect with you. You also have the opportunity on the left-hand side to filter people based on their interests. So what's next? Go to the networking area, click the networking button, connect people, just click on their profile, start a conversation with them. Don't be shy. We are all on the same boat, as Dan said. So just connect with them. Also follow up with them on their social media pages and profiles. And yeah, happy networking. And as well, we are looking forward to receiving your feedback. And so just connect with us on our social media, or also on the right-hand side, you have the opportunity to provide your feedback to the platform of Wordly. And that's it from my side. Thanks on behalf of the whole Wordly team. And we are also in the networking area. If you have any questions about the solution that we are providing here, just connect with me. Looking forward to it. Awesome. Thanks, Dan. Meet you in the networking area.
See you there.